will only be given to the delegate seated directly behind the country's nameplate. We shall now begin the voting process. Members are requested to remain seated until all ballots have been collected. Ballot papers marked A, B, and C will now be distributed. The voting has thus begun. In accordance with Resolution 71/323 of 8 September 2017, the names of the states that have been communicated to the Secretariat at least 48 hours prior to the election today have been printed on the ballot papers for each of the regional groups. Also, additional blank lines corresponding to the number of vacancies to be filled for each of the regional groups have been provided on the ballot papers for inscribing other names if desirable. I request representatives to use only these ballot papers that have been distributed and to put an X in the boxes next to the names of the member states from the relevant region whom they wish to vote for, and or write other eligible names on the blank lines. If the box next to the name printed on the ballot paper is checked, the name of that state does not need to be repeated on the blank line. The total number of checked boxes and or handwritten names should not exceed the number of vacant seats to be filled as indicated on the ballot paper. The ballot paper will be declared invalid if it contains more names of member states from the relevant region than the number of seats allocated to it. Accordingly, for the ballot papers marked A for the African and Asia-Pacific states, the total number of checked boxes and handwritten names should not exceed 3. For ballot papers marked B for the Eastern European states, the total number of checked boxes and handwritten names should not exceed 1. And for the ballot papers marked C for the Latin American and Caribbean states, the total number of checked boxes and handwritten names should not exceed 1. The ballot paper will be declared invalid if the member states will not be counted. Member states, 1. Member states that do not belong to the region concerned, or 2. Member states that continue to be members of the Council during this year and the next year. If a ballot paper contains any notation other than votes in favor of eligible candidates, these notations will be disregarded. I invite the representatives of the following states to serve as tellers to accompany the conference officers as they collect the ballot papers: Germany, Palau, St. Kitts and Nevis, Slovenia, United Arab Emirates, and Zambia. Please proceed to collect the ballot papers. Ladies and gentlemen, may I request delegations who may have not voted to do so now by approaching the front of the hall to cast their votes. The voting is now closed. No more ballot papers will be accepted. In the interest of time, the Assembly will now proceed to consider the other item announced in the United Nations Journal while the ballots are being counted. The Assembly has thus concluded this stage of its consideration of sub-item A of Agenda Item 114. The Assembly will resume its consideration of Agenda Item 13 entitled, and I quote, Integrated and Coordinated Implementation of and Follow-up to the Outcomes of the Major United Nations Conferences and Summits in the Economic, Social, and Related Fields, end of quote, to take action on a draft resolution contained in document A/79/L89. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Mongolia to introduce draft resolution A/79/L89.
Mr. President, distinguished delegates, I have the honor to introduce the draft resolution entitled World Horse Day, initiated by Mongolia. At the SDGs Summit in 2023, the world leaders committed to taking bold, ambitious, accelerated, just, and transformative actions to accelerate the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. These actions would be anchored in international solidarity and effective cooperation at all levels. In line with these goals, Mongolia is putting forward this initiative to support the cross-cutting objectives of sustainable agriculture, pastoralism, biodiversity conservation, tourism, and related issues. As of today, there are more than 57 million domesticated horses around the world. We all know that the horse is one of the most important animals in human history, as it had served as the main means of transportation for centuries and was dominantly used in agriculture, farming, mining, and almost on all other areas. Even in today's world, horses play an indispensable role in our daily lives, particularly in rural areas, and equine industry has been and is still a solid contributor to the agricultural development and economic progress of many countries through horse riding, horse racing, equestrian sports, tourism, recreational activities, transportation, as well as employment generation, agricultural production, and other businesses. However, in recent decades, the number of horses, horse trades, and horse industry, including traditional usage and mobilization of horses, are declining to a certain extent due to changes in people's lifestyle, technological advancement, economic fluctuations, climate and environmental changes, and other factors. In recognition of the past and present, this resolution A/79L/89 aims at raising awareness to the importance of the horses, encouraging concrete actions to support equine industry, sustainable livestock management, promoting global efforts and activities for equine welfare, as well as contributing to the conservation of the horse cultural heritage and pastoral nomadic lifestyles. Distinguished delegates, moreover, in most countries of the world, including my own country, Mongolia, horses have played are still playing an important role in our history, culture, daily lives, and is cherished as one of the most respected animal species. Historically, Mongolian pastoral nomads have relied on their livestock animals for living and moved several times throughout the year looking for good pastures with abundant water and grass to accommodate their herds. In our way of living, horses certainly have been and are still serving as the main mode of transport. Mongolian horses are best known for the role as the war steed of Genghis Khan and his successor due to their strength, excellent long-distance traveling endurance, and easy care. For above reasons, horses have sacred place in Mongolian history, culture, national identity, as they often featured in Mongolian myths and legends, symbolizing strength, endurance, and freedom. With its 4.7 million horses, Mongolia is listed one of the countries with biggest number of horse population in the world. Thus, as a country with rich horse heritage and modern thriving livestock industry, Mongolia, with the generous support of fellow co-sponsoring countries, is proposing World Horse Day be observed every year in the middle of summertime on 11th of July. Distinguished delegates, Mongolia deeply appreciates the active participation and valuable contributions from all delegations during the negotiation on the draft resolution. We would also like to express our heartfelt thanks to the co-sponsors of this resolution and invite those member states that have not yet co-sponsored it consider doing so, acknowledging the significance of the matter. Finally, I would like to express my full confidence in that member states will render their unwavering support during the adoption of the draft resolution L89 World Horse Day. I thank you very much for your attention.
I thank the distinguished representative of Mongolia. We shall now proceed to consider draft resolution A/79/L89. For your information, the draft resolution has closed for e-sponsorship. I give the floor to the representative of the Secretariat.
Thank you, Mr. President. I should like to announce that since the submission of the draft resolution, and in addition to the delegations listed on the L document, the following countries have also become co-sponsors of A/79/L89: Belarus, Bhutan, Brazil, Bulgaria, Cambodia, China, Croatia, Germany, Hungary, Japan, Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Lesotho, Morocco, Nepal, Nicaragua, Oman, Pakistan, the Philippines, the Republic of Korea, the Russian Federation, Saudi Arabia, Serbia, Singapore, the Syrian Arab Republic, Tajikistan, Thailand, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, and Vietnam. If any other countries wish to co-sponsor A/79/L89, please signify by pressing the microphone button now. I see Comoros, Armenia, Ghana, Chile, the Islamic Republic of Iran, Myanmar, Mali, Chad, Sao Tome and Principe, India, Vanuatu, Oman, Botswana, Cyprus, Senegal, Kenya, Guinea, and Guinea-Bissau. I also see Eritrea. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of the Secretariat. We shall now proceed to consider draft resolution A/79/L89. Before giving the floor for explanations of vote before the vote, may I remind delegations that explanations of vote are limited to 10 minutes and should be made by delegations from their seats. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. President. The United States thanks Mongolia for its leadership and efforts in facilitating the process on this resolution. The United States also appreciates the efforts by several members to seek a compromise throughout the negotiation, including to remove preambular climate references that distracted from the true matter under consideration. However, the text of this resolution contains positions we cannot support, which compels us to call a vote today. Regrettably, there were no textual accommodations in support of consensus, despite initial flexibility during open negotiations regarding preambular language on the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals. The United States has made clear that the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Sustainable Development Goals impinge upon the state sovereignty as a soft form of global governance and will no longer reaffirm them as a matter of course in UN resolutions. For these reasons, the United States will call a vote on this resolution. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the distinguished representative of the United States. We have heard the last speaker in explanation of vote before the vote. The Assembly will now take a decision on draft resolution A/79/L89 entitled World Horse Day. A recorded vote has been requested. We shall now begin the voting process. Those in favor of draft resolution A/79/L89, please signify. Those against? Abstentions?
The Assembly is now voting on draft resolution A/79/L89 entitled World Horse Day. Will all delegations confirm that their votes are correctly reflected on the screen? The voting has been completed. Please lock the machine.
The result of the vote is as follows. In favor, 169. Against, 1. Abstentions, 0. Draft resolution A/79/L89 is adopted. Before giving the floor for explanations of vote after the vote, may I remind delegations that explanations of vote are limited to 10 minutes and should be made by delegations from their seats. I now give the floor
cultural del caballo, así como su vínculo innegable con las comunidades rurales, los pueblos indígenas y diversas expresiones culturales. No obstante, mi país estima que si bien es importante establecer los vínculos y reforzar las medidas para garantizar su protección y salvaguardarla, consideramos que estas acciones se pueden realizar sin la proclamación de un Día Internacional, tal como sucede en muchos otros casos, con un sinfín número de especies, animales, seres vivos, objetos, etc. Si bien México votó a favor de esta resolución, la postura de mi país es clara con respecto a las propuestas de proclamar diversos días, años y decenios internacionales. Existe una proliferación preocupante con respecto a estas propuestas, pues si bien estas conmemoraciones a veces pueden ser relevantes, la realidad es que en los últimos años han aumentado en frecuencia e innecesariamente en complejidad, como vimos el voto el día de hoy. Esto ha sobrecargado nuestro sistema y nuestro trabajo y debemos actuar al respecto. En lo que va en la actual sesión de esta Asamblea General, ya se han proclamado 7 días internacionales y un año internacional. En la sesión anterior se adoptaron 15 días internacionales y 6 años internacionales, mientras que hace 2 sesiones se aprobaron 12 días internacionales y 2 años internacionales. En conjunto, esto representa un total de 27 días internacionales y 8 años proclamados en tan solo 2 sesiones. Esta tendencia es creciente en la adopción de resoluciones para establecer nuevas conmemoraciones. Esto implica cargas operativas, financieras y de tiempo, tanto para las delegaciones como para el secretariado. Por ello, consideramos importante avanzar hacia un mecanismo más eficaz, racionalizado y coherente que permita agrupar estas conmemoraciones bajo marcos temáticos amplios. Señor presidente, México espera que la proclamación de este tipo de días internacionales sea más eficiente, menos repetitiva y más sustantiva. Hacemos un llamado a la reflexión sobre el equilibrio entre el simbolismo y funcionalidad en el trabajo de esta Asamblea General. Muchas gracias.
I thank the distinguished representative of Mexico. We have heard the last speaker in explanation of vote after the vote. The Assembly has thus concluded this stage of its consideration of Agenda Item 13. The meeting is suspended for 15 minutes while the ballot papers are being counted. Ladies and gentlemen, take your seats. The result, the Assembly will resume its consideration of sub-item A of Agenda Item 114 entitled Election of Non-Permanent Members of the Security Council. The result of the voting is as follows. Group A, African and Asia Pacific states, 3 seats. Results of the vote. Number of ballot papers, 188. Number of invalid ballots, 0. Number of valid ballots, 188. Abstentions, 1. Number of members present and voting, 187. Required 2/3 majority, 125. Number of votes obtained. Bahrain, 186. Democratic Republic of Congo, 183. Liberia, 181. Group B, Eastern European states, 1 seat. Results of the vote. Number of ballots papers, 188. Number of invalid ballots, 0. Number of valid ballots, 188. Abstentions, 10. Number of members present and voting, 178. Required 2/3 majority, 119. Number of votes obtained. Latvia, 178. Group C, Latin American and Caribbean states, 1 seat. Results of the vote. Number of ballot papers, 188. Number of invalid ballots, 0. Number of valid ballots, 188. Abstentions, 8. Number of members present and voting, 180. Required 2/3 Having obtained the required 2/3 majority and the largest number of votes, Bahrain, Colombia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Latvia, and Liberia are elected members of the Security Council for Thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me reread the sentence. Please do not clap while I'm reading. Having obtained the required 2/3 majority and the largest number of votes, Bahrain, Colombia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Latvia, and Liberia are elected members of the Security Council for a 2-year term beginning on January 1st, 2026. I congratulate the states which have just been elected members of the Security Council, and I thank the tellers for the assistance in this election. The Assembly has thus concluded its consideration of sub-item A of Agenda Item 114. Before adjourning, I wish to inform members that the following representatives have been elected chairpersons of the main committees of the Assembly at its 80th session and are accordingly members of the General Committee for that session. Ladies and gentlemen, please let me finish. First Committee, His Excellency Maurizio Massari of Italy. Special Political and Decolonization Committee, Fourth Committee, His Excellency Jose Alberto Briz Gutierrez of Guatemala. Second Committee, His Excellency Lamin Diba of Gambia. Third Committee, His Excellency Chet Chai Vavid of Thailand. Fifth Committee, His Excellency Zuzana Horvath of Hungary. Sixth Committee, Her Excellency Leila Castillon Laura Santos, Philippines. I congratulate the chairpersons of these main committees at the 80th session of the General Assembly on the election. The meeting is adjourned.
Okay, one more.